Tell me that you are running this from last 20 years and working on the customer data. So what are the key insights?
In senior leadership positions, you need to make sure that data and information are considered in your strategies.
So can you tell me some of the use cases that has made a significant impact on the companies?
I'm going to tell you really quickly. Think of a triangle. When we put data quality or governance or anything data related into action, there are three sides to this triangle.
I want to share one story which is very close to me. Like my team is working on one of the healthcare side. We have developed the entire input and output process for them. What happens when we did the migration? The team were not having any visibility. There is an error occurred and the process failed.
So that is such a great example. And when the data is good, think of every person in that organization. If that data comes across to them,
In this edition of the Executive Outlook, we are joined by Danette, President and Principal Consultant of Granite Consulting. A global expert in data quality and governance, Danette helps organizations utilize high quality data to drive business value, manage risk, and support key initiatives like analytics and digital transformations. Welcome, Danette.
thank you. I'm very happy to be here.
All right. So tell us about your journey, that how you started and be in the field of data quality.
So I started when I was working at a global high-tech company, and they found that they were having problems with their customer data. So there was a council of all the managers across the world that dealt with customer data, and they really needed to focus on and say, what can we do? We're all having the same problems. So I was brought in to help them. I was an employee at the time. So Larry English, many people know him as the father of information quality. So he's really one of the first people. Him and Tom Redmond and Rich Wang in the US were really what I call the first generation pioneers. And so I had a chance to work directly with Larry, and I became the enterprise customer information quality program manager. That was where I was learning and also helping that organization. Then that company broke into two. I took my program over to the other company, and I became the enterprise data quality program manager, looking at all types of data, not just the customer data. So I did that for some years, and then I went out on my own and started Granite Consulting. So this year, Granite Falls is 20 years old.
Wow.
And so I'm very happy about that. And so I've had a chance to work with a lot of different types of organizations, because it is really clear that data and information, they are foundational to every organization. Every country, every organization depends on that data. And so I've really been able to have the privilege of working with a number of different organizations, helping them from the data and information point of view.
And you mentioned Tom Redmond, and
Yes.
I'm very glad I actually met him on the previous event. I went to CDOIQ, and he was hosting a panel over there. I think data quality solutions in that area, his views were amazing, and I had a chance to interact with him, and we over the breakfast, and we had a very, very good discussion.
Yes. As I mentioned, I consider Tom one of the first generation pioneers to really bring visibility to this area. He and I are good friends and continue to stay in touch, and we've worked on some things together. And so I'm very happy to still continue to learn from him.
So tell me that you are running this from last 20 years and working on the customer data. So what are the key insights which you want to share, or the best practices you want to share while handling that information?
Yes. So just to clarify, I work with any type of data.
Yeah.
So it can be research data, it can be data that supports pharma, it can be any type of data. So one of the most important things, since this podcast is called The Executive Outlook, and I'm speaking specifically to those
Yes.
people who are executives and in
Yes.
senior leadership positions,
Yes.
that you are the ones that you set the priority. You need to make sure that data and information are considered in your strategies in the same way that you do plans for how do we manage our money? How do we manage our people? How do we manage our products? When it comes to data and information, too often people think it's only about the technology. Now, the technology is extremely important. I love working with good, smart technologists. I love having good tools to use. But the data itself has some additional emphasis that they need. And so I would really encourage executives and those senior leaders and ask them, what are you doing to include data into your strategies? What are you doing to pay attention? When you're in a board meeting, I'm sure you always ask about the state of affairs of your money. Do you ask the state of affairs about your data? I mean, it's that important and needs to be at that same level. So if you talk about suggestions, that is one of the first ones. A second one is make sure that you actually invest in your data. Make sure that you have people into place who can do the work, who understand data. If they don't understand data, give them training. There's all kinds of conferences. You can bring in consultants like myself who can train people on methodologies and approaches to practically take care of their data. So, make that a priority. Be sure to invest in that.
Sure, sure.
Start with your business needs. What does your company care about? Like, what is the pain point right now? What do you need to do to manage risk? What do you need to do to increase your business value? At different times, any one of those things I've mentioned could be more important than another, and then it can change. Or within different groups in your organization, there may be some of those more important than the other. Whatever it is that you care about, I guarantee you data and information are part of that. And if you don't pay attention to that consciously and specifically, it's going to be much harder for you to meet any of those business goals that you have.
That's true. But many times I meet with founders and executives, and as you mentioned, they are more focused on like where the money is going, how to save money, what's the revenue. And when I talk to them, that how you are managing data. Right now, we don't have much data, so it is manageable, something like that. So, what advice you want to give it to them? That how they can start, because initially when they are starting the business, sometimes they don't have enough knowledge, right? That, and they don't have enough funds also to hire people. So what they can do in order to start utilizing data in the right way. Mhm.
The things that you're hearing, I hear
Mhm.
those kinds of things also.
Mhm.
So if you're hiring programmers and developers, if you're hiring IT people, you must take some of that and make sure you've got some data people in place. They
Mhm.
will be able to help you. I know it is very hard sometimes for people to spend time on training, but if you can't get yourself educated enough, now obviously, if you're an executive, you don't need to know all the detail about how to take care of the data, but you need to know something. You need to understand that it's an important business asset. Maybe executives haven't even heard that research shows that between 15 and 35% of your income is wasted due to the cost of poor quality data. Think
Mm.
about that. If you think you don't have the money to spend on your data, do you have the money to lose on poor quality data? And it's a really serious question to consider, because these are hard decisions for executives to make. And yet, what are you losing? How many opportunities do you have to bring back 15 to 35% of your revenue? There aren't a lot of opportunities that give you the chance to do that. If you're already a going business, you need to take care of that as quickly as you can. If you're starting up, at least get one data person in place.
Yeah. So can you tell me some of the use cases that you have solved? Any case studies where it has analyzing data, structuring it has make an incredible impact, significant impact on the companies. So any yeah, anything you want to share? And you
So, financial industry, they already had data governance in place. One of my colleagues had helped them get that set up. They wanted to start doing a focus on, so they had data governance. They wanted to start doing a focus on data quality. My colleague introduced me into them. And so I gave them training on data quality. I'm going to tell you really quickly. Think of a triangle. When we put data quality or governance or anything data related into action, there are three sides to this triangle. It's not that different from how other areas in an organization are managed. So at the bottom of the triangle, we have the program. On the left-hand side of the triangle, we have projects. The right-hand side of the triangle is labeled operational processes. So using this example, they needed a program. So a program is like that ongoing initiative. It's not going to go away. It is part of your infrastructure, but you need to have people who understand data, people who understand how to manage data. So that's the program piece. We're doing reporting and everyone reports disagree. And so we're wasting a lot of time because we can't make decisions. So there are lots of data quality problems. And so with this particular client, we set up the program. One of the first things that they wanted to address was they wanted to put a dashboard into place so they could see the status of their most important data and the quality of that data. Okay, so that was the project. So think of that. We set the program into place. So in the course of setting up the dashboard, so not only were we able to put tools and a dashboard into place to show us the quality of the most important data, we worked with their data governance council to prioritize. We had some good processes to prioritize the most important data. And not only did we look at the quality, but we were able to map out that data and the costs for the data to line items on their operating budget. So we could actually then bring in and see costs associated with that. So once we did that project and we had done it the first time, the project ends, everything that we did to get that dashboard and the processes into place, now it's an operational process. Now we have moved over to the right-hand side of the triangle. And so we're doing the data quality work. And one of the most important things that should come out of the project that is part of the operational process is who's going to do something about the data if the dashboard comes out red. If we have a problem, do not waste any time putting a dashboard into place unless you have a process and people accountable and responsible for following up on that. So doing things like, of course, correct your data. Let's prevent these problems from happening.
Definitely. And when this kind of work is running for such a long time, then it's not about that you have done the consulting, there is money. It's more about that we have done something valuable. So that is the real joy of working. Yeah.
Yeah, you are absolutely right. That is my goal because I am very committed to the fact that data and information are very important assets for a company. And this is my way of helping them be able to take full advantage of those assets.
Yeah, yeah. I want to share one story which is very close to me. Like my team is working on one of the healthcare side of it, So we have developed the entire input and output process for them. We did the migration, everything was outsourced, and then we have to build it in house for the client. And what happens when we did the migration, the team were not having any visibility that if there is an error occurred, the process failed, the pipeline failed, then how they can fix that. So it was lot of manual things that was happening, monitoring were happening. So we came up, this is not the right way to do it, we have to put the governance in place, and we have created the dashboards for them. And if there is an error, then it should give us a flag, red flag. And then first on the pipelines, on the governance process, and then on the data quality, as you mentioned, the similar thing we did, it has bring in so much clarity that who needs to do what, how to fix it. There's an error, we have to fix it by end of the day, because that can create further errors if we have not fixed it. So go and remove this red flag. And that is like, it's not that it has taken 2 weeks, 3 weeks, because we were into system, we know what the data, how to put it and how not to put it. But the result of this were amazing, really really good. And that is the actual joy, that we are reducing someone else's burden, and it has reduced the manual monitoring processes and everything. It's just automated everything, and we just need to see and resolve the error, finding the root cause of that. So I can relate to that.
So that is such a great example. And
Mhm.
when the data is good, think of every person in that organization. If that data comes across to them, whether it's in a report or whether they're looking at a screen and they're on a phone, with the patient or a doctor or a nurse. I mean, you mentioned healthcare, so I'm just using that for some examples. What it means to the people who are using that data as they learn that of the things that you are doing, the confidence that it can build in them. So
Mhm.
instead of them spending time checking, double checking, triple checking something,
Mhm.
if they don't believe that it's true, they
Mhm.
can gain that trust in it and the confidence and do their job. I mean,
Mhm.
how many times have I heard of people, they love the job that they're doing? Data scientists, this is one that we hear about. I mean, they are all looking at data, they're excited about data, they're looking at
Mhm.
trends, they're looking at patterns. I mean, they're coming up with really some amazing things from the organizations. But I've
Mhm.
heard statistics like 40% of the time of a data scientist is
Mhm.
spent dealing with data quality problems
Mhm.
before they can do the work that they
Exactly.
were hired to do. Now think how much you pay a data scientist.
Yeah.
And data science, and I'm going to think about the personal part of it, because you bring up the joy, the joy of it. Data scientists that I know, they love their job. Like they
Mhm.
want to do it. They don't
Mhm.
want to spend their time looking at something that isn't necessarily their job. They
Yeah.
just want to get onto the business of their job. And that's what excites them. And that's what they want to do every day.
Exactly.
On the other hand, there's people like me who love data quality. I love data governance. I get excited
Hmm.
about making sure other people have the right data that they
Exactly.
need and that they can have confidence in it. So, how much more effective?
So I'm very excited to hear that what is the typical day look like for you. You are balancing the client projects, you have written books, leadership responsibilities, and how you're managing it.
So, I have been in data quality and governance for over 33 years. Data governance has become a term and kind of a known body of work. But back then, it was everything that we now call governance, we were doing anyway because we had to do that to be successful with the data
And
quality.
I can imagine when the term, came up and everyone was talking about governance. Whenever new terminology is coming after 2, 3 years, then in that scenario, oh, this is what we are already doing. Okay, we do say this thing like data mesh is a new term that come up recent, like 2 3 years ago that come in, right? And then data governance and then other things. So then in my thoughts always it is like we have been doing this already. Oh, this is what we say as in terms of now the new terms are coming up and that is happening. So
And that's also a good thing, though, right? Because I've had people say that, like when they've taken my class and they hear certain things and certain things are defined. And every time somebody takes my class, a few things happen. You learn a term or you learn something that is brand new. And it's like, great, I can add that to the things I already know. So as we continue to help each other and learn, and
yeah,
naming things and defining things is very, very important. So as
yeah,
we grow as a profession, we just get better at that and having those terms, and we can talk to each other better because we have the same understanding. Back in the late 80s, early 90s, when I talked about the three gentlemen and the first generation pioneers in the US, there's a lot that has happened since then. And part of what I do is giving back to my own data community, giving back to my own data profession, and teaching, speaking at meetings. So for instance, there's an organization called DAMA International. And so they have chapters across the US, they have chapters around the world. So if you're an executive or a leader, a manager, I highly recommend your people that are working in data find these kinds of organizations. DAMA International is one. And when I lived in the San Francisco Bay Area, I can say that being active in that chapter was really beneficial to me and actually to my whole career. The things I learned, the people that I met. So I will speak at, say, at chapter meetings. I write articles, as you had mentioned, really trying to increase the knowledge for everyone. I have overseen the translation of that document, that it is now available in 25 languages. Because really data and information they're global issues. It doesn't matter language, country, culture. Everybody has issues that they need to deal with. And one of the first things people need to understand is data is important. It is an asset. This one-page document is an easy way for people to have those conversations and raise awareness for themselves and raise awareness and have conversations with other people in their organizations. So you can download those. You can go out to dataleaders.org. So DATALEADERS, all one word, .org. And you can look and see if there are, if it would be helpful to be able to have those conversations and to have people have access to it in one of these languages. And if there's a language that you want to help or you want to get translated into and it's not on our list, people can always contact me. I can help them be able to get started, because that is also another thing I like to try to really get this message out around the world.
for sure. All right. So thank you. I think you have shared your extensive knowledge and experience in data quality and governance, and your approach for connecting business strategy with actionable data solution is truly invaluable. And it's a privilege having you here on the Executive Outlook.
Thank you so much. And if you don't mind, I'm going to just say very quickly for people who may not be familiar, I do have my methodology is called 10 Steps to Quality Data and Trusted Information. And it is, if anybody does not know how to get started, because there's a lot of moving parts when it comes to data, this is a good roadmap to help people get started. It is also available in Chinese, it's available in Japanese, and the Spanish translation is underway. So there's a book. The title is Executing Data Quality Projects. The subtitle is the name of my 10 Steps methodology. So I just want to provide that as a resource for people to check into. And
Thank
thank
you.
you so much for having me here. It's been really fun talking with you about my favorite subject, data.
Same here. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.